I've talked about two fears so far, and today I would like to bring you to a third fear to finish off Naming Fears series, and it's called Scopophobia. Scopophobia belongs to the third tribe here, and these are people who hate to be the center of attention and have a true suffering when they're being looked at. They cannot handle to cross with other people that would potentially look at them and scrutinize them. This is something that has been written about for many years. Even Hippocrates, 400 BC, has written something like explaining that overly shy individual, such a person loves darkness as light and thinks every man observes him. So these are the personalities that manage to survive without being the center of attentions. Scopophobia can have several different degrees, as many of the other fears that I've named. Of course, has a form of a social phobia as well as a psychiatric condition, for which, of course, it would have to be treated by a professional. But the consequences that it has once you step on stage are tremendous. This cocktail of glossophobia and glottophobia together with scopophobia, so the fear of being out there in the open, feeling vulnerable, that I've talked about in my first episode. The second one, which is the fear of being laughed at, the fear of ridicule. And this third one, which is the fear of being scrutinized and looked at. They create definitely a powerful cocktail when you go on stage, a powerful combination when you go on stage. So it's not abnormal that the fear of public speaking ranks higher than the fear of death. An example of this fear as a social phobia is, for instance, when people try to avoid to cross with their neighbors. There's people that before they leave home, they look out to see if someone else is going to cross the street, and so they hold back because they don't want to cross with that other person, or because you live in a apartment complex and you need to use an elevator and you sit behind the door waiting for the elevator to be vacant so you can go alone on the elevator, so on and so forth. So this fear of being looked at from a relatively short distance is something that will exist in several different degrees within all of us. Now, the fear of attracting attention looks like an evolution of the fear of ridicule when man moved from living in hunter-gatherer societies into living in small codependent communities. In these smaller groups, survival now depends on not being the center of attentions or not being the center of unwanted attention of, say, the leadership. And attracting unnecessary attention could be the difference between life and death, and could be the difference between having more or having less. It will always be a gamble to go out there, expose yourself, attracting those attentions, and then for some reason, whoever is in charge doesn't like you. So being anonymous, being behind the curtain, and don't being looked at is actually something that belongs to a survival instinct of many years of man adapting to become a social animal or a social being. We didn't went from hunter-gatherers to social creatures overnight. So this process create a brew where not attracting attention was actually seen as something that would be the socially acceptable norm, except if you would have something to back you, of course. And you would see this in some cultures, of course, today, where attracting attention can either be seen as a good thing or a bad thing, or have good or bad connotations. Regardless of what is your cultural heritage, this fear will exist a little bit in everyone's, inside everyone. So the symptoms of scopophobia when you stepped on stage is actually something very recognizable from this fear of being attacked by an opposing faction if you live in a group of hunter-gatherers or someone creating a tribe that will have a territory, and so you would have to defend your territory or conquer new territory. So you step on stage, and just like glossophobia, the fear of open spaces, you're now putting yourself to the scrutiny of others. What if the other people don't like you? Will you be able to handle that? This is, of course, something you need to tackle if you want to be a stage hero, if you want to perform live with comfort and confidence, and something that will make the audience like hearing you and seeing your content on stage. So what can you do? There'll be three things that I would advise everyone to do, and those would be to start from the most comfortable to the least comfortable, or go back and forth as you wish. First one would be to scrutinize yourself. Use the mirror, use a camera, and record yourself or talk to yourself in the mirror. Do this when you're alone at home, of course, or warn everyone that you're going to start talking to yourself. But jokes aside, it would be extremely important that you would deal with your own scrutiny, because we are our worst scrutinizers. So if we can try out, and if we could start with ourselves, that would be the most secure and safe way to start to tackle the worst scrutinizer. The second step you can take is use a group of family members, a group of friends, people that would still create a safe environment to whom you can present, to whom you can do presentations, but you would have to warn these people to look at you in a condescending way and scrutinize you, so you could test this out, so you could test the effect that this has on you. All it takes sometimes is someone looking you from top to bottom to put you completely off of your posture, of your composure. So use friends and family, small group, a safe place to try out talking in a situation where people will be actively scrutinizing you. And when you go on the live stage, it's not that people will not scrutinize you. They will listen to what you're saying. They will hear to what you're saying. They will see your slides. If you have slides, see your presentations, but they will still scrutinize you. And they would not even notice that. Probably you could ask someone, what was that person wearing? And someone say, I don't know, I was so deep down into the topic of the talk. But you can ask someone else, what was that person wearing? And they say, oh, an awful blazer or shorts or even other piece of garment, could be a dress. But some people could not avoid scrutinizing others, and they don't do it by harm. Sometimes it's just their second nature. So do this with friends and family. Third step would be, of course, you shouldn't wait until you go on stage to do this. So you should be the one that would scrutinize others and wait for them to look at you, or just look at people. This is extremely hard, because if you do this on a train, it would look a bit funny and the other person might not react really well. But it will all depend on how what you're looking at is not how other people react to you scrutinizing them. What you're testing here is, once they look at you, how would you react? So this would be level 3, level max, but you need to go through all these 3 stages before you step on the stage if you are somehow discomfortable. People scrutinize you. I had a speaker that I've tried to coach, and when I saw him live, it was so obvious that he suffered from this. When I say try to, it's because I offered my help, but the help was taken to other areas where this person thought they could be better. But But only when I saw him live on stage, and I've never saw this person live, and usually I ask people to send me recordings or to record themselves. I've never saw this person live. And when I saw, I was amazed. This person gave a whole presentation looking at the floor. So the fear of being scrutinized started by the fear of actually looking at other people. So test this out with strangers on level 3, of course. It could be on the street, just crossing people by and look them in the eyes. If they look back, just smile or nod. Do something that is genuine from you. You're not out there to be a psycho, to start looking at people in strange ways. Just try to make a connection so you can seek people's attention, so then you can deal with that. And it's extremely easy these days, because all people do these days is just look at their screens, their phones. So the people that will not walk looking at their screens or will not commute looking at their screens, they'll probably be good scanners of their environment, and they'll be good people to connect with. These are 3 tips that I hope will help you. On the next episodes, I'm going to start doing more in-depth descriptions and suggestions on how you can face the fears. Been naming the fears so far, the most important fears related to being on stage. Stay tuned, subscribe, and I will see you on the other side when you're going to start facing the fears. And I'm going to start giving you some of my personal techniques and examples I've did in my life, so I can be more comfortable with these fears and, of course, all the other ones that involve public speaking. Hope it helped. See you on the next one.